Hi, I'm Beth from Restyle Pieces Boutique. Welcome back. Today I picked up this media cabinet. It could be used as a buffet, but it's brown and it's kind of plain for me. So I wanted to make it over and give it a little pizzazz. And so that's what I did. So if you want to watch this makeover, stay tuned. First things first, I'm going to take these drawers out and label them R and L, right and left, so that I know where they go back when I'm finished. And then I'm going to remove this hardware. I'm not going to be using this hardware. It's just kind of old and I'm not thrilled about the shape of the cup pulls actually. So removing those hardware, putting them in a container. I'm definitely going to have to get rid of that felt. That is nasty and brown and gross, and that's going to be fun. So skip right to cleaning it out. I like to vacuum out my pieces very well even before I start cleaning them. I'm going to be using Pure Power from Farmhouse Paint to clean this piece up. It is a dewaxer, degreaser. It gets the grime and dirt and all those things off of your piece so that you can work on it and make sure you don't grind it into your piece when you sand. So here I'm sanding the top. I started with an 80 grit, I believe, and I needed to change and make it to, oh no, I started with a 120 and I needed to make it a little more aggressive because not much was coming off. So I switched to an 80 grit. And then you'll see me trying to get this off. I am not going to be able to stain this piece because it is MDF and it was worn off in one part. You can see it, the really thin veneer they had on it, or the whatever it was on the top came off, and I'm going to have to seal that and maybe put some Bondo on it, but it'll look great after that. So I started trying to just scrape this off. I thought I might get lucky and it would just come off very easily. Yeah, that didn't happen. That's okay. So I'm going to take, you can see my scraping efforts. I'm going to take some Goof Off, and this is pretty stinky, so I like to wear a respirator when I use it. You just spray it on there, and here I already sprayed some on, but you do want to let it sit 2 or 3 minutes. And then you can start taking those layers off. I got that first brown layer off, and then I had to spray another couple times to get all that gray under gross stuff off. So it will be successful, trust me. My scraper wasn't working very well with this gray fuzzy stuff underneath, so I just used a wire scrubbing brush, and then I used my brush comb actually to get the nasty stuff that would build up in the wire brush, and that seemed to work pretty well. So that worked out really well. I used some vinegar afterwards to neutralize the strong odor of the Goof Off, and then just give it another little cleaning. So I used Bondo All-Purpose Putty. Bondo works really well and it dries very hard and quickly. I put those in the hardware holes. They were just little tiny holes. They didn't go all the way through. The hardware was just screwed in with a screw from the front, so it was very easy to fill those holes. Here I am scuff sanding. I'm using a 180, and I'm just taking off that glossy finish, the slick finish, so that my paint will have something to stick to. And anytime you have dust, use a little water on a rag and get that dust off of there before you start your next step. I decided to take these latches off on the inside, so I like to paint the insides of my doors. So I just labeled them, made sure I put them back the same way. That's latch 1, and that's how it goes up. That's the arrow pointing up. So I'll know exactly how to put those on and which doors to put them on so that I won't have any difficulties when I go to try to close and open my drawers again, or my doors again. Here I'm using Scotch tape and plastic. I'm taping up the insides of the doors so that when I open them, I can spray them and not worry about getting any overspray or paint in the inside of my project. The weirdest thing was going on here. My paint or my tape was having trouble sticking, and it was just crazy. It was super humid, and I think that's what it was, but I just had to take some off and put it back on. So finally got it to stick, and it was successful, and now I'm doing the second opening. So a lot of people spray with their drawers in, and I am going to do that. However, I still like to tape up my whole entire drawer. And just to make sure, because there's been times I've sprayed with my drawers in and only taped up the front, and I still got some overspray on the sides or inside the piece, inside the drawer. And I really don't want to have to clean out overspray. So it doesn't take me any time to tape these up. And then I make sure the whole drawer is protected. All taped up, and I just put them back in where they belong, and we are ready to go to the next step. I'm using this King Charles hardware jig to make sure I get some holes in the middle. I've got the new hardware figured out, so I'm measuring the center point, and then once I have the center point, I've already set up my jig to the exact measurements of the hardware. So once I get my center point, I can hang that from the top and use my little puncher to punch holes in there. And then I just go to the other drawer and do the same thing. I tried to use this little end piece that kind of has it rest on the end, but it didn't work because the end was way too far from my hardware jig. So that wouldn't work. It wasn't going to be in the middle. All of these materials that I use on this project and the tools that I use are listed below in the description, and you can find them on my Amazon shop, including this hardware jig. So I had found the center from side to side, but now I have to find the vertical center of the drawer. So I went halfway down, made sure I was in the center. I set that little bar that I'm moving right now to my measurement so I know it will hang exactly in the center. The directions will help you a lot. And here you'll see me lining up that center hole, the one that's on the silver part, with the middle of my drawer. Now I can use the punch that's included with the jig and punch little holes there so I'll know where to drill. I wanted to make them a little bigger so I knew that they wouldn't disappear when I started painting. And you just disassemble each of the little pieces very carefully, not to lose those little pins, and just put it back in the bag. So here you can see I'm getting ready to prime, and yes, I did add a little wallpaper detail. It was going to take a while to add that to the video to show you how I did that. This is textured wallpaper on the side, and I do have a separate video that's called a makeover minutes. It's shorter, a lot shorter, and that will show you how to put wallpaper on your surfaces. So if you want to watch that, I've got the link up here in the upper right hand corner. You can click on that and see how I added that wallpaper. But now I'm priming with Kiehl's Restoration. It is tinted in a light gray. It is a water-based primer, and it works very well on bleed through, and it just comes out so smooth and provides that extra adhesion and that smooth surface for my paint. After putting Bondo on that part that you see on the front of the top, it was all smooth. I sanded that all down, and now it has just a beautiful surface. Here I am caulking the edges of the textured wallpaper that I added. I used to always be afraid of putting wallpaper on a piece of furniture. I thought, well, that's going to come off, but oh my goodness, no. I used this special paste. I put the paste on the surface of the wallpaper and my piece, and it's not going anywhere. Super strong, dried super hard and tough, but I wanted to make sure that I had nice, smooth transitions between my wallpaper detail and the piece, so I wanted to caulk there. Also, I'm filling all the little dings and dents that you don't notice until you prime, because then you can see them very easily. I'm taking my wood filler and I'm just filling those in. I'll sand them off smoothly, and then I'll be ready to paint. I'm using Wise Owl Paint 1 Hour Enamel in the color Foxtrot. This is a wonderful paint. It's a acrylic-based enamel paint, and it dries hard and it cures in 10 days. You do not need a top coat. It dries in a nice satin sheen that's already within the paint. I am a Wise Owl Paint online retailer, so I do sell Wise Owl Paint because I believe in this product, and I love this color, by the way. But my website is included below in the description if you'd like to order some paint, and it is on my website, restyledpiecesboutique.com. Just so many beautiful colors. Its coverage is covering so well here, and I'm using my Fuji Q5 Platinum Sprayer. This is a very big investment, but I felt like it was worth it. It just is a smooth finish, and it gives you lots of options to adjust your flow and your pressure, and I just love it. So I let it dry overnight. I put the hardware on, and then there are some scratches and some worn areas on the bottom of the piece on the inside. So I'm using Howard's Restore Finish in the color Dark Walnut and my 4 Zeros steel wool to apply this product and just refresh this wood, and it just works like magic. So after about an hour, I let this dry and then I come back in with Howard's Feed and Wax and I just go over that. It's a wood conditioner on the inside. Here, I'm using my big jug because I love this scent of lemon verbena wise owl salve. It just nourishes and hydrates the wood and conditions it. And if you want to protect it and use it on paint or stain, you can do that. It protects it. So I did that with the drawers and the insides. Now I'm using the color Safari Jacket. I'm going to do a blended top. So I'm going to spritz my top and then paint one coat of Safari Jacket, let it dry, and then I'll show you what's next. Oh goodness, look at the drip. Look at the drip on the left side. Don't worry, don't be afraid. I'll save it. Ah, so much better. So you want to make sure your paint is completely dry, and then I'm using Fusion Stain and Finishing Oil in the color Cappuccino. I have a stir stick, a bowl to put it in, and then my big foam brush to spread it with. And then I have folded over blue shop towels to wipe it back. You definitely want to wipe this back. You don't want to leave it on there. And then of course gloves, because it is oil-based and it will stain your fingers pretty well. So I'm just going back to my dry surface and I'm using a little spongy 220, I think it is, to just kind of smooth down that surface a little bit, wipe it clean, and then I'm going to stir my stain and finishing oil up well and apply one coat and then wipe it back. A little messy, but never fear. This is not water-based and I'm putting it over paint. So it has an open time of about 10 or so minutes. So you have plenty of time to go through that, make it nice and smooth on your last passes before you wipe it back. And here during this wipe back process, you want to try to keep your lines as straight as possible going across the top of the piece. And then you'll see me turning over my rag and unfolding it to a nice clean place of my blue shop towel. And then when that gets like some too much on it, then I use another one. That's why I had a whole stack of blue shop towels there. And you'll be able to wipe it several times until you get the look that you want. So don't worry if your lines aren't perfectly straight the very first time. You can always go back and fix that for the next 10 or so minutes. One of my favorite finishes to do when I can't stain the top of a piece. So I'm finishing up by adding the hardware to the drawers, and then we'll be moving on. Almost finished. And now that we're finished, let's go revisit that brown, boring piece that I brought home. And now, look at how she looks now. Thanks so much for watching today. And if you would like to subscribe to my channel, just push that bell button down there and hit subscribe, and you will get new videos when I have them come out. I appreciate you watching, and come back soon. Bye-bye.